Tens of billions of dollars of public money has been handed out in recent months, ensuring workers maintain connections with employers while businesses struggle through this coronavirus pandemic. Today, we'll find out what's happening with that payment of $1,500 a fortnight per employee, and also with the unemployment payment that was increased to $1,100 a fortnight. The government had allocated the funding through to September, but it was unclear what would happen after that. Political reporter Jade McMillan joins us now from Parliament House in Canberra. Jade, g'day. So what can you tell us firstly about JobKeeper?
Good morning. Well, JobKeeper is the $1,500 a fortnight wage subsidy that is currently going to around 3.5 million people. At the moment, it's paid as a flat rate, regardless of whether someone was working as a casual or a part-time or a full-time employee before the pandemic. And a review by Treasury has warned that that could act as a disincentive to people finding a new job or more hours. So under these changes to be announced by the government today, JobKeeper, as it currently stands, will continue through until September. But after that, it will be split into two tiers, depending on how many hours you were working. And both payments will be set at a lower rate than the current one of $1,500 a fortnight. Businesses will also face turnover tests in October and January to determine whether they're still eligible for the program. The Finance Minister, Matthias Cormann, says this second round of support, the Treasurer has described it as JobKeeper 2.0, will go for another 6 months through until March next year.
We need to ensure that, ultimately on the other side of this transitional support, that we get back into a situation where businesses, viable, profitable businesses, are able to pay the wages of their employees out of their income rather than having to rely on taxpayer-funded support. I mean, this support was necessary. We will continue to provide it for a further period, but ultimately this is not something that we can continue to do on an ongoing basis.
And Jade, what about the job seeker payment? So this is the payment for people who are unemployed, which has actually been doubled over the last several months.
That's right. JobSeeker was formerly known as New Start, and it sounds as though it's being treated a bit differently to JobKeeper. It's currently being boosted by a $550 a fortnight supplement. That supplement will go through as it is until September, but after that it will be extended, but at a lower rate. And there has been some confusion this morning as to how long that extension will be. The government now says that beyond September, that lower job seeker supplement will go through until December, so until the end of this year. We're yet to learn what that new rate will be and indeed what will happen to job seeker after the end of this year.
Yeah, so there'll be a lot of people keen on finding out the detail of that, what the actual figures are, and they'll be keen on tuning in and listening when that media conference happens. Is there a time on that yet?
Not yet. We're expecting it later this morning, but no official confirmation of when that press conference is happening.
And Jade, there's an economic update or kind of a budget update being handed down on Thursday. Initially, we were expecting that the JobKeeper and Seeker announcements were going to be part of that. So is this budget update still happening on Thursday, and what's expected from that?
It is, yeah. We were expecting that the future of JobKeeper and JobSeeker would be announced as part of that economic update on Thursday, but these announcements obviously have been brought forward. We're expecting that to be a mini budget of sorts. We'll get a clearer understanding of just how badly the budget has been affected by the coronavirus pandemic, expecting updated economic modelling, a clearer idea of what the government is expecting in terms of the longer-term unemployment forecasts, and obviously the government also warning that these latest outbreaks in Victoria and New South Wales will make that job of the economic recovery more difficult.
Okay, Jade McMillan there in Canberra. There's been a promising start in the early stages of a trial for a COVID-19 vaccine. The Oxford University clinical treatment induced the required immunity, and more than 1,000 participants showed few side effects. Here's Europe correspondent Samantha Hawley.
What the Oxford University scientists have managed to achieve is extraordinary. The vaccine is doing what they want, safely inducing immunity. But we don't know yet if it will stop people from getting the virus.
So vaccines are absolutely the way out of the pandemic, and this is a really important moment because it shows that we can make the robust immune responses, which we hope will relate to protection in the future.
So far, the trial has shown after the injection, the participants have been making antibodies and white blood cells to fight COVID-19. And when they have 2 doses, it's even more effective.
If we can get an effective vaccine, we will be able to vaccinate very large numbers of people because we can manufacture this vaccine at scale. And that will allow people to get back to normal life, hopefully.
The vaccine is made from a genetically engineered virus that causes the common cold in chimpanzees, modified so it looks more like coronavirus and doesn't cause infection in humans.
This is a positive result, but again, there is a long way to go. These are phase 1 studies. We now need to move into larger scale real-world trials, but it is good to see more data and more products moving into this very important phase of vaccine discovery, and we congratulate our colleagues for the progress they have made.
The British government's already secured 100 million doses of the Oxford vaccine in case it's successful. But it's also secured 90 million doses of vaccines being developed in Germany and France. And Boris Johnson doesn't want people to get their hopes too high.
Obviously, I'm hopeful. I got my fingers crossed. But to say that I'm 100% confident that we'll get a vaccine this year or indeed next year is, alas, just an exaggeration. We're not there yet.
The Oxford University trial is on the right track. Now more rigorous human testing will take place in the UK and the US, Brazil and South Africa, where the infection rate remains very high.
New South Wales health authorities are appealing for worshippers at a Western Sydney church to self-isolate after 3 confirmed coronavirus cases among parishioners. Reporter Jessie Dorset joins us now from the Sydney suburb of Harris Park. Jessie, g'day. So what's the suspected origin of these cases at the church?
A man who attended who contracted coronavirus through the Thai Rock restaurant cluster here in Sydney, attended church at the Our Lady of Lebanon Cathedral in Harris Park last Wednesday. This is vision of that service. He also came to church last Thursday night, Friday, and a funeral on Friday afternoon. 2 other parishioners have since tested positive for COVID-19. Anyone who attended church at the same time is now being told to self-isolate immediately for 2 weeks and to get tested even if they don't have symptoms. So to help swab all of those people, potentially hundreds who have perhaps been exposed to that man, a pop-up testing clinic has been set up in the church car park. And Joe, it's just opened.
Yeah, and is there a bit of a lineup already, Jessie?
Yeah, we've been here since early this morning, and long before the clinic opened there were people asking about getting tested. There's a line-up already. It's not as big as the lines that we saw at the Kushula venue, the Crossroads Hotel last week and yesterday at the Soldiers Club in Batemans Bay, but certainly there are a lot of people that are heeding the officials' advice to get tested. Yesterday, Joe, including those 3 parishioners, New South Wales recorded 22 infections. That's a 3-month high for the state. But the good news is they were all traced back to known sources. OK, Jessie Dorset there in Sydney. Melbourne residents in lockdown had reason for some cautious optimism yesterday, with fewer coronavirus detections in the previous 24 hours than had been the case in some previous days. The next few days will be critical, with authorities looking for a clear trend of stabilisation in those figures, hoping the lockdown of the last 2 weeks has had the desired effect. Masks will be mandatory in that Melbourne area and the adjoining Mitchell Shire. That's a must for most people in public from Thursday. Reporter Elias Kluwer joins us now from Melbourne. Elias, g'day. So what's the situation with the mask supply in Victoria and Melbourne in particular at the moment?
Yeah, well, the government has urged people not to panic by these masks and says they'll literally make millions available as of next week, and are also repurposing fashion manufacturers to make these reusable masks. But we have seen a rush to the shops, long queues, people waiting outside chemists and supermarkets to buy these masks. I'm outside a chemist right now. We haven't seen any queues as yet, and I ducked my head in just before and they said they have plenty of masks to go around. So Despite this, though, a lot of retailers are putting restrictions on how many masks customers can buy. At Woolworths and Coles, it's 1 packet per customer. Aldi, it's 2 packets. And Bunnings, it's 50 masks per customer. So the government, again, urging people not to panic buy. There's plenty to go around. And it's also said that you don't have to buy a mask. You can wear a scarf, a bandana, or even a handkerchief.
Yeah. And Elias, so you're kind of getting used to seeing people walking around with them already. They don't become compulsory until Thursday, but they're already is already really noticeable about how many people are walking around with them?
It is, absolutely, particularly in supermarkets and enclosed environments. The Premier, Daniel Andrews, said it would be quite confronting seeing most people walking around and not being able to see their face, and that's definitely true. You see pretty much most people now all wearing masks, also on public transport as well. Most people wearing masks, all the police officers wearing masks, and in Victorian courts it's now compulsory.
Yeah. And Elias, take us through those figures for yesterday, how they compared with the previous few days, and what's a particular concern about regional Victoria?
Yeah, so Daniel Andrews didn't take solace in the fact that yesterday's figure of 275 was significantly lower than the day before. He wants to see more evidence before he can determine whether the stage 3 lockdown restrictions in Melbourne and the Mitchell Shire are actually working. Now, the concern in regional areas is, I guess it relates more to the southwest, Geelong and the Colac area. Now, the Australian Lamb Company in Colac says it's reported a doubling of coronavirus diagnoses. That's now at 12. It's also forced a school in Colac to close. Now, down the road in Geelong, there's currently 13 active cases. Now, the Mayor of Colac, Otway Shire, says his region should be subjected to a 2-week lockdown period. He's told 9 newspapers to suppress the virus, and the Australian Medical Association has also said that masks should be made compulsory in these regional areas.
And Elias, that inquiry into hotel quarantine breaches got underway yesterday. What was the key evidence that was stated there at that inquiry yesterday, and when does it sit again?
Yeah, so the QC, Tony Neal, he was predominantly speaking yesterday about the terms of reference and what we can expect in future hearings. Now, he said to the retired judge, Jennifer Coate, that the initial stages of the inquiry will focus on the communication between government agencies, as well as the suitability of the people working in these hotels, and also the speed in which the hotel quarantine program or the scheme was implemented. Now, the next stages of the hearing will involve public witnesses, and that will get underway on the 6th of August. But there's a very quick turnaround on this, Joe. Jennifer Coate is expected to hand down her final deliberations on this on the 25th of September, which will be of great interest to a lot of people because, as you know, the Victorian government is refusing to answer any questions on this hotel quarantine scheme, citing this inquiry.
Yeah. OK, Elias Clue reporting there from Melbourne.